The Roman Empire, a name whispered with reverence and awe. For centuries, Rome stood as a beacon of civilization, its legions marching across continents, its emperors shaping the very fabric of the known world. Yet the once mighty empire crumbled, leaving behind ruins as a stark reminder of its impermanence. Today, echoes of its grandeur resonate in our modern world, particularly in the United States of America, a nation that rose to prominence as a global superpower. The parallels between these two great powers are striking. Both built vast empires, their influence stretching far beyond their borders. Both commanded formidable militaries, their technological prowess unmatched in their respective eras. And both, in their time, seemed invincible, their citizens basking in the glory of their achievements. History, however, has a sobering lesson to teach. No empire, no matter how mighty, is immune to the forces of decline. The Roman Empire, despite its seeming invincibility, succumbed to a confluence of factors that eroded its foundations from within. As we examine these factors, we must ask ourselves, are we, the inheritors of the American dream, immune to the same fate? The Roman Empire, at its zenith, controlled a vast territory stretching from the British Isles to the Middle East. Its legions were renowned for their discipline and effectiveness, subduing one enemy after another. Similarly, the United States, in the aftermath of World War II, emerged as a global superpower, its military might and economic influence extending across the globe. The question that looms large is this: can America learn from Rome's mistakes, or are we destined to repeat them? One of the primary contributors to Rome's decline was its economic instability. Rampant inflation, a consequence of excessive military spending and dwindling resources, plagued the empire in its later years. The value of Roman currency plummeted, eroding the purchasing power of its citizens and sowing the seeds of discontent. Sound familiar? Today, the United States grapples with its own economic woes. Income inequality has reached staggering levels, with a small percentage of the population controlling a disproportionate share of the nation's wealth. The national debt has ballooned to unprecedented heights, fueled in part by massive military expenditures. These economic imbalances, if left unchecked, threaten to undermine the very foundations of American prosperity. The widening gap between the rich and the poor in America is a cause for concern. As more and more wealth becomes concentrated in the hands of a select few, the middle class, the backbone of any strong economy, struggles to stay afloat. This economic disparity breeds resentment and social unrest, creating fertile ground for instability. The decline of Roman society was not merely an economic phenomenon, it was also a moral one. As the empire grew wealthier, its citizens, particularly the elites, became increasingly self-indulgent and apathetic towards the plight of the less fortunate. Civic virtue, once the bedrock of Roman society, gave way to a culture of bread and circuses, where the masses were placated with entertainment and distractions, while the empire rotted from within. Fast forward to the present day, and we witness disturbingly similar trends. Apathy and political polarization seem to have taken root in the American consciousness. Many citizens are disengaged from the political process, disillusioned by a system that appears to serve the interests of the few at the expense of the many. The pursuit of personal gain often overshadows the common good, eroding the sense of shared purpose that once bound the nation together. The rise of social media, while connecting people in unprecedented ways, has also contributed to the fragmentation of society. People retreat into echo chambers, surrounding themselves with like-minded individuals and dismissing opposing viewpoints without engaging in meaningful dialogue. This lack of civil discourse makes it difficult to find common ground and address the pressing issues facing the nation. Political corruption was another nail in the coffin of the Roman Empire. As the empire expanded, so too did the power of its ruling class. Corruption became endemic, with officials using their positions to enrich themselves at the expense of the people they were meant to serve. This abuse of power eroded public trust in the government, creating a climate of cynicism and despair. The Roman Colosseum was a tool for distraction, much like modern sports stadiums today. The influence of money in politics is undeniable. Lobbyists and special interest groups wield enormous power, often dictating the legislative agenda and shaping policies that benefit their narrow interests rather than the needs of the nation as a whole. The revolving door between government and industry is another area of concern. It is not uncommon for former government officials to leverage their connections and inside knowledge to secure lucrative positions in the private sector, often lobbying their former colleagues on behalf of their new employers. This blurring of lines between public service and private gain erodes public trust and undermines the integrity of our political system. As George Orwell once said, football, beer, and above all gambling filled up the horizon of their minds. To keep them in control was not difficult. Rome's military ambitions, while initially successful in expanding its territory and influence, ultimately proved to be its undoing. The empire's relentless pursuit of conquest drained its treasury and stretched its legions thin. As its borders grew, so too did the number of enemies it faced, leading to a perpetual state of war and a constant drain on its resources. The United States, like Rome before it, maintains a global military presence, with troops stationed in numerous countries around the world. The cost of maintaining this vast military apparatus is staggering, consuming a significant portion of the national budget. While there is no doubt that a strong national defense is essential, we must be mindful of the lessons of history. The United States spends more on defense than any other country in the world. While it is important to maintain a strong military, we must also invest in diplomacy, foreign aid, and other non-military means of promoting global security and stability. A solely militaristic approach to foreign policy is unsustainable and ultimately counterproductive. The founding fathers of the United States were acutely aware of the lessons of history, particularly the fall of the Roman Republic. They understood that a republic, unlike a monarchy, depends on the active participation of its citizens and their unwavering commitment to the common good. As Benjamin Franklin famously quipped when asked what kind of government the Constitutional Convention had created, "A republic, if you can keep it." The question we face today is whether we, as Americans, are up to the task of preserving the republic bequeathed to us by our forefathers. Are we willing to set aside our differences, to engage in civil discourse, to hold our leaders accountable, and to work together for the betterment of our nation? The founding fathers understood that a republic is a fragile form of government, one that requires constant vigilance and the active participation of its citizens. They knew that power corrupts, and that the best safeguard against tyranny is an informed and engaged citizenry. The freedoms we enjoy as Americans are not free. They came at a cost paid for in blood and sacrifice by generations past. Preserving those freedoms requires constant vigilance and a willingness to defend the principles upon which our nation was founded. Apathy, complacency, and indifference are the enemies of liberty. When we take our freedoms for granted, when we fail to engage in the political process, when we allow corruption and injustice to fester, we chip away at the very foundations of our republic. The bald eagle, a symbol of American freedom and strength, reminds us that liberty is a precious and fragile thing. It requires constant vigilance and a willingness to defend it against all threats, both foreign and domestic. We stand at a crossroads in American history. The choices we make today will determine the course of our nation for generations to come. Will we heed the lessons of history, or will we repeat the mistakes of empires past? The legacy we leave behind is not determined by the size of our military or the strength of our economy alone. It is determined by the character of our people, by our commitment to justice and equality, and to extend a helping hand to those in need. The future of America lies in the hands of its children. It is our responsibility to teach them the value of citizenship, the importance of education, and the need to embrace the principles of unity and mutual respect. The fall of the Roman Empire stands as a cautionary tale for all time. It is a reminder that even the mightiest of empires are not immune to the forces of decline. It is a call to action, urging us to learn from the mistakes of the past and to strive to build a more just and equitable society. Let us not be remembered as the generation that allowed apathy, greed and division to erode the foundations of our republic. Let us instead be known as the generation that heeded the lessons of history, that embraced the principles of our founding fathers, and that worked tirelessly to create a more perfect union. The time for reflection is now. The time for action is now. The future of our nation depends on it.